Look at where Coluge aims the rock. It's a predictive rock. Where is Bernar going to go? Well, he's going to go to the corner, right? Because that's what pro Overwatch League players do, right? Watch Bernar. Juke. Doesn't go to the corner. Goes the opposite direction and then goes back. And then immediately once that rock is used, instantly shift because I can generate HP, I can hold space, and I'm not going to get rocked and punished for it. You guys see that? There's a beautiful little microcosm of Sigma microplay, all within about 10 seconds, but a trillion things happen all at once. It's like really, really high level stuff. It's been ages since I've coached this meta, and I don't know that we've ever like specifically had this particular meta, but basically here's the thing we're looking at with Sigmas. We're looking at obviously making sure that they have their full cooldowns for when they're taking space or when they're holding space. Usually rock is saved for the Sigma trade at some point in time, but there are times where you would go for an off angle for a DPS with it. It's just it's a lower percentage shot. A lot of shift is going to be used. There's a lot of games with the cooldown trade versus the enemy Sigma. Can I use my shift in a way that's not going to get me rocked? Because if I can, it's going to save me shield HP and build me enough of an HP, put me in an HP superiority position, like put me in a superior HP position, excuse me, so that then I can play more aggressive than the enemy Sigma. So in other words, if I can use my shift and get 500 HP out of it and not get rocked, then I'm going to be in a much better position to push or hold space than the enemy Sigma. However, using shift opens you up to being rocked, which means you not only lose HP that you had from generating the shift, but you also lose HP because you're freaking rocked, right? So it's all about resource management within those cooldowns. There's usually nothing super crazy or creative, but I haven't reviewed Sigma in a long time. Maybe we'll learn something that we don't know. These are some of the best Sigmas in the world, right? I mean, Coluge is right up there with the best. I think Space is right up there with the best. So we'll look at that. And then also it's going to be a lot of mechanics. Are they hitting their shots? Are they min-maxing the damage they output? The last thing I'd say is obviously we'll look at how the ults are used as well. Now, this is really interesting, okay? The way ults are used in this composition is a little bit different than how you'd expect, because obviously trance is used for flux, but the problem with that is in this composition, trance is not a guaranteed counter to flux, because consider Sojourn, Zenyatta, Baptiste, Sigma, and most importantly, Widowmaker. Anything that gets pulled into the air that's a squishy usually dies. So what you often end up having is you have a mind game of whether it's even worth trancing or not, because if it's a nasty flux, you probably just die by getting shot in the air. And you have the additional micro of where you often will sometimes will have enemy Sigmas trying to stack with their backline when you have flux, so that when you get fluxed, they can shield off their backline so they don't get one shot in the air. So you can use your own shield to protect your team in the flux, but that usually means that your Sigma has to be stuck in the flux. The other thing as well is that the way the positioning of these fights are usually set up is usually so that it's hard to get fluxes on squishies, so that they'll play really split, off angles, and things like that. So you often end up fluxing the enemy Sigma. So then what happens is that you'll usually see the enemy Sigma, when the enemy team has flux, trying to not use shift, because if a Sigma gets fluxed and they get their head blown off, even though it's a tank, they will die. Or they'll get to such a low HP on landing that the enemy team can push them and kill them. So I know we've gone over a lot of stuff. I'm not going to go too much more in detail beyond that, but it's a lot of cooldown stuff. Now, positioning matters in terms of cover, but positioning doesn't matter as much on this particular map because it's very linear in terms of it's going to be cover, and that's mostly it in terms of positioning. And there's not a lot of flanks and off angles. It's more about who's the better Sigma at conserving the resources, who's the better Sigma and using their ultimates and the mechanic. Okay, it's not impossible, no, it's just extremely difficult. It is so one-dimensional of a map with so few opportunities to take off angles and flanks that yes, that is generally what happens. It's not just the long sightlines, it's also, unlike Junkertown, a map which is very narrow. Junkertown is very long, but very wide, so there's opportunities to set up off angles and flanks. This one, it's just straight down the gullet. We're gonna use shift early here because there's no, he's gonna get it by the time he needs to actually push space. So he doesn't want to waste a lot of shield HP, and maybe he can generate a little extra HP to spam. Now, what you're going to try and see, what you're going to see is occasional flashes of shield. What those flashes of shield are for are generally two things. One, Widow headshot. So if the Widow shoots the shield, that's 120 damage, okay? If she shoots your head, that's 300 damage, okay? So you would rather have that 120 on your shield than 300 on your head. The other thing is Sojourn shot, which is the same logic. She doesn't get the 3 times multiplier, but if a Sojourn's shooting your head, that's a lot more damage to you than it is to your shield, okay? So you'll see them trying to block Sojourn Railgun, Widow headshot. The reason why teams play on the low ground here, at least the tank line, is usually because you do not want the enemy team to be, that you want it to be painful for them to turn this corner. And if Bernar were to hold high ground, he would not be able to access the corner here. His spam would not reach until the cart had already pushed up to here. So which means that the enemy segment can walk up to this off angle here. Bernar really wants to stop Coluge from ever leaving this corner, which means he plays aggressive on this corner to keep Coluge on this off angle. If Coluge is able, if let's say Bernar is up here, that means Coluge can rotate safely to here, which means Coluge can start actually getting good pressure on the enemy team's backline. So in ranked, I don't necessarily coach Sigmas to play low ground, but that's the reason why they're doing that, is because Bernar needs to hard stuff this corner right now and not let Coluge rotate. And then he does still utilize, you notice he's utilizing the cover of Car. If things go really poorly, he's going to rotate out, but that's where we're starting up right now. If you see any weird positioning, things like that, it's because these teams have played these maps a trillion times. Again, shift here. You notice where he's using shift. It's very hard for Bernar to use rocket that range, and he's going to be able to generate some HP off of it. Also notice here that outside of occasional rock trades and melee, that Coluge is trying to shoot past Bernar whenever possible. Like, that hits Bernar, okay, yes, but that's because there's nothing else to shoot. But he's always trying to shoot behind shield. One body shot on just obviously body shot because it's Sigma. Any pressure on backline is infinitely more valuable than pressure on Sigma. You can win the Sigma trade, but remember, he just has infinite HP. It's just better to get a little bit of pressure on the enemy back, because remember, even if you can't get the kill, if Teru gets body shot by Coluge and moves from here to here, it means that all the damage that Teru would be doing to the enemy shield or to Coluge is now gone. So not only is it damage, but it means that removes one person from the field from doing damage on the enemy team. One volley on Shy will have to potentially shift out. Shy is no longer doing any damage. Shock has the advantage. One volley from Bernar onto, like, let's just say Violet. Violet has to back off. Violet's no longer doing any damage. Violet's screaming for healing. That distracts the enemy team. Carter, thank you for is that Carter? Thank you, Carter. Thank you for the sub. So this is all about, if you hit pressure on squishies, those squishies don't contribute to the fight, and you make it a 4v5 for a brief period of time. Whereas if you do damage on Sigma, yeah, he has to respect it, but he keeps doing his thing. It's still a 5v5, 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 5v5. Could Bernar hold the stairs on the right? Yes, he could. But the problem with that, do you see the problem with Bernar holding the stairs on the right? It's easy enough for the attackers to take an angle and poke out Bernar without peeking the rest of his team. Do you see that? So this is a pretty good ranked position, but with teams being more coordinated and more alert of things like this, it's very easy for Coluge, Kilo, Proper, Fen, Violet to spam out this off angle where he would be without ever even crossing the enemy sniper's crossline. You see this? They got a perfect sight line onto Bernar. Even if he tucks in like here, you could still reach him with your primary fire. And then if Bernar has to rotate, this rotate right here, from here to here, is going to cost him his Sigma shift, 100%. What about car for cover? Yeah, you want to try and use car for cover. I'm not sure if you mean this car or that car, but yeah. But I mean, telling me, this map has been, I wouldn't say solved, but this map has been played so many times for so many metas with this composition that a lot of these details are really, really tight compared to other compositional matchups, right? The level of play here probably, I mean, even though these teams probably haven't played this composition for a while, they're still going to be playing it at a fairly high level, I expect, just because this composition has been played this map so many times. So many times. I think high ground for ranked is not a default. No, I think it's flexible. I think starting here for ranked is okay, and then just don't get your resources burned, and you could start here. I really do think where Bernar is playing is also okay though. I think it's really good. I think it depends on the comp, right? If it's a spam here, play here, because you're all about stuffing them at the choke. If it's like a Ryan or something like that, then it's okay to play a little bit further back and try and hold high ground on them. Why did they get so many more reps? And I'm just saying in general, Overwatch League teams got a ton of reps playing this composition on this map because the meta hasn't shifted on this map that much compared to other maps where, you know, Junker Queen and then this and then that, right? It's been a little bit less. People have had more practice playing similar compositions on this map over the course of the entire season. What is the job is in this comp? Keeping pressure on Sigma shield, yes. Keeping pressure on the enemy tank. If any DPS overextends, yes. Zen, the supports here aren't great. Like, BAP does good value, but there's no really good support here. Zen is just good shield pressure, good pressure on the enemy Sig, and then there's always the possibility of getting a pick, and then Trance is still a decent ultimate. Are they massively concerned about not getting picks this early in the map? Is the plan just to slow them down until they reach the second corner? I mean, there is a chance that if Bernar is able to hold space here, that that Spark can get a pick here, right? That they can absolutely get a pick. They do have sightlines for their Zen, for their Widow, for their Sojourn. So there's a chance here. I'm not sure exactly what causes Bernar to back off. It might be that they're... It's hard for me to say because I am trying to focus on Coluge, but it might be that, I mean, it really looks like Bernar, I mean, look at Coluge's shield, right? Coluge has really not been forced at all. Coluge is pretty healthy, right? Whereas Bernar is I mean, Bernar and Coluge about the same. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you guys. Could be a call, could be somebody that got forced to back off. I mean, look at Irony's position, right? Irony's really, really, really far back, so this means that Bernar needs to back off, but yeah. Once Coluge gets to car, Bernar has no cover of his own. That is a good point. Yeah, that could be one of the reasons why here. Okay, there's the shift. And you notice as soon as that rock is used on Bernar, I know we're not reviewing Bernar, but this is good to point out. He's going to go for that rock. Bernar jukes it. I think the shield's not even broken here, but Coluge, you notice when Coluge goes for the rock, watch this. This is really important. Coluge doesn't even wait for Sigma Shift to go for the rock because he knows that they're not going to be able to get as close to Brawl with this meta. Like, this is going to be mostly at range for the most part. So he sees this, he sees spam, shield is dropped, immediately goes for this. And if you look at the cooldown on Bernard's shield, he's still got 2 seconds, right? 3 seconds, I say. 2 seconds on his shield. So if Coluge, there's no way for Bernar to counterplay this rock outside of avoiding it, juking it. So that's why Coluge times this. Coluge is waiting for that shield to drop, almost like a Reinhardt waiting for the fire strike from the enemy Rein to shatter, and he's immediately, there's a brief window where it is impossible to block the rock here, and that's why he rocks here. Because if he gets the rock here, is Bernar going to die? No. But what will happen is they will be able to walk forward, take a lot of aggressive space, and probably force a lot of healing from the enemy tanks, which means that you get more space, more DPS, more pressure, more angles for shot. And maybe Bernar does die. There is a chance that Bernar dies. The other thing here too as well is look at where Coluge aims the rock. It's a predictive rock. Where is Bernar going to go? Well, he's going to go to the corner, right? Because that's what pro Overwatch League players do, right? Watch Bernar. Juke, doesn't go to the corner, goes the opposite direction, and then goes back. And then immediately once that rock is used, instantly shift, because I can generate HP, I can hold space, and I'm not going to get rocked and punished for it. You guys see that? There's a beautiful little microcosm of Sigma microplay, all within about 10 seconds, but a trillion things happen all at once. It's like really, really high level stuff. And you notice again here, Coluge, immediately pressure on Shy. I promise you, even if Bernar was not shifting here, Coluge would probably shield and shoot Shy. Shy has to leave. Shy cannot stay here. Shoot the angle. There's the shift. And notice that Coluge is not pushing forward here. Do you see this? Coluge is waiting. Why is Coluge waiting, y'all? Well, 3, 2, 1. This is why. If he turns his corner by himself with his shield is going to get melted, and his team gets nothing out of it. They get no space. He needs to wait for his Zen, his Widow, his BAP, and his Sojourn to get slightly more aggressive positions, and then 3, 2, 1 timing, right? 3, 2, 1 timing. Let's watch it. Let's watch it right here. I guarantee you. Ready? There's a little bit of shield. Doesn't use a lot. Pushing cart, pushing cart, pushing cart, pushing cart. There's the shield, right? But look at where the shield is placed, and look at when the shield is placed. 1, 2, 3, 4 people, right? And even then, it's recalled quickly. Wait. Nothing used. And then they're actually now poking out the angle over here. They're waiting for the opportunity to explode. And there's the opportunity. You see that? You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not perfectly timed, but that's much closer of what we'd expect. Let's go back to POV. Again, priorities on the DPS, not the tank. Okay. Now you're noticing, why is he not using shift there? Well, because he's probably going to go for a rock trade with Bernar soon. He wants to have a shift afterwards. Why is Proper hanging back so long? Because it's really scary. Because once Proper gets to here, anytime Coluge drops shield, he's going to get a Bernar volley right in his face, and maybe even Zen spam, which is going to either kill him or force him back again, and then it starts all over again. So Proper's timing has to be really tight. Not to mention Proper's also focused on Shy, who's trying to off angle here. So this is why it's like you don't want to be stacked, but do you see how the off angles here are like really risky? It's rough, guys. It is rough. It is a margin of this much every single time that this composition is played. There's the shield block. There's the shift, because he knows he's in a corner to avoid the rock. You notice he's still trying to shoot behind him. Like you can even see in that volley right there. He's trying to shoot behind Bernar whenever he can. And you notice that, okay, here's a really important question. Why is he not shooting Shy now? Could Proper play high ground? Yes. Once he gets a little bit of space, yes. But again, even high ground here, Bernar hits one volley and it's over. You see how the Proper's peeking now? Why is Proper peeking now? Well, because Bernar's backed off. But here's the question. Why is Coluge not shooting Shy? This is a really important little tidbit here. And this is something that you can apply in your own Sigma gameplay. His team has pressure on Shy? Yes. Shooting more people to get more ult charge? Well, no. Remember we talked about this. You want to prioritize squishies a little bit because they generate more ult charge. I mean, obviously, shooting Bapzin would be hitting 2 people instead of 1 is better. But a lot of times he's ending up just shooting Bernar, right? So I think definitely paying attention to what's in front of him is important. But remember, we just talked about how many times don't shoot the tank, don't shoot the tank, shoot the off angle, right? But what's the problem with the off angle here? How easy is it going to be shooting Shy from this position right now? Do you see this? Do you see this vision from Coluge right now? Do you see this? Best case scenario, he's going to get a volley over the top and maybe do a little bit of chip damage to Shy. But it's not going to force him out of the angle. And it's not going to be a lot of damage either. So this is about return on investment. This is a very, very calculated micro decision where Coluge is like, I will shoot Shy if he's like here and easy to shoot. Remember that? Where he's kind of standing in a very accessible location. But if he's really, really hard to shoot, my attention is better served on not necessarily what's in front of me, but other targets. So this is a question you have to answer for yourself as a Sigma player. Let's say there's a Genji on an off angle. If you can shoot this Genji and hit him because he's on a high ground or on a corner, then do so. That's the priority for you. However, if he's double jumping around and tracers blinking here and there, and you're just like, shoot what's accessible. You will do more pressure and get more return on your investment. It's a very tricky balance of dealing with the off angles first versus this is just not an off angle that I can easily deal with. So instead, I'm going to focus on winning this trade here. This is a very, very micro intensive decision, but it's a very important one. Big shots. There's the rock trade. Good block from Bernar. So Coluge is being very aggressive with these rock trades, and I'm not a huge fan. Bernar is outplaying him consistently. So thank you for the sub, Arso. I appreciate it. So for right here, I think it's probably, like, I don't know if he's mistracking Bernar's shield cooldown here. But for example, shield is recalled. He hasn't used shield yet. He still hasn't used shield. And then he rocks without knowing the status of shield. This is a mistake on Coluge. Coluge should not go for this. Coluge should know better by now. He's already shown that he's actively tracking shield cooldown. He's very good at it. This should be better. And notice again, Shy is very easy to shoot now because he's just standing right there. So now we're going to prioritize Shy, not Bernar. Uh-oh. That's bad. That could have gone very poorly. There wasn't a lot of follow-up on that, but Bernar outplayed him, and then he wasn't able to shield in time. This is a huge drop for Bernar. It's too bad the Spark is in a better position to punish. Hey, Alaquan. Love you too. How's the Doomfist boy doing? No, I don't think Spark wins this. Actually, I don't know, honestly. I don't know. But, you know, again here, why are we pushing here? Well, I mean, actually, I think shooting Shy there would have been better. I think he's shielding and then he's going to push Shy, but then Shy backs out. Oh, he almost hit it. And this is really bad. This is what we talked about with the Flux, right, y'all? So we push up. So here's another thing. This is a mistake of ult tracking from the end of Shock. You do not window into Flux. You do not window into Flux, okay? I know this is, I'm not talking big picture here, but this is a Sigma-related concept, okay? You do not window into Flux because Flux pulls you out of the window and often means that you're pushing up to get value to the window, making it an easier Flux. I mean, watch right now how the positioning. Look at the positioning of the Shock, and then watch how that adjusts for the window. Ready? Relatively aggressive, but watch Violet. You see this? You see Fen? Fattest Flux in the world. Fattest Flux in the world. You have to know this. You have to know. So you press tab, you look at the damage, he's got Flux. This is a mistake. And this is where we talked about the problem with Flux in this meta is If you cannot get behind it, now this is actually pretty smart from Violet. This is a really, actually, this is purposeful. This is actually a really good spot to be, but the problem is that Shy has an off angle, and it doesn't matter. And then because Violet is dead, there is no lamp, and that is it. Interesting to note, by the way, that things like this do matter. Having cover like this does usually matter. It's just Shy had a too good of a position for it. Do I know what that melody is? I do, but I was forced to sign an NDA, and I'm not allowed to tell you guys what that melody is. So not great from Coluge in terms of the neutral trade late there, and then I really do not like Bap Window from Shock, but that's less to do with the signal play. If Bernar didn't have Flux, would this have been a good use of Immortality Field? I assume you mean the window. Yeah, it probably would have been fine. Yeah, it would have forced them all to turn the corner here, which would have made them killable because there's no cover here, or it would have isolated Shy over here to get killed. So yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. The melody is the party rocking song? I can't answer that question, sorry. This is aggressive use of shield. Again, you're shooting, trying to pass Bernar, shoot past Bernar. Oh, Bernar, you dirty man. Coluge thinks I see a lot of spam coming on. I can get away with the greedy shift to buy me a lot of HP, buy me some time. It's interesting to note, by the way, that this timing is really truly horrific from Shock. Shy lands the E of his life. Shy lands it through the choke. Check this out, y'all. Check this out. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that split. Oh, watch out, right? And Coluge is now completely by himself, which means let's watch Bernar's shield. Look at Bernar. Bernar's not even shielding. He's not even shielding, and Coluge is here on death's door, right? I mean, that's why timing matters, y'all. That's why timing matters, and that's why things like Sojourn E matter. Right there. How did Bernar get so far ahead on ult charges? Defender's advantage. Bernar was hitting more people with his shots because Shock was pushing in clumped up, and Spark was spread out more because they had positional advantage. That generally happens. It's just defender's advantage. Usually defender's advantage means you get your tanks and offensive ultimates first, and attacker's advantage is that you usually get your support ultimates first because there's more damage. I mean, that's exactly what you saw, right? They got Bap Window first, but they got Flux first. It just so happens that that trade is not very good, right? If you're playing a Kiriko comp, you love it. You love it. You love the extra healing that you get, right? But Bap Window is not as good as Flux, at least not in that particular position, right? Okay, so Coluge gets rolled. Thankfully, he's got cover, but this is going to set back Shock for a long time if he even survives. Yeah, he doesn't survive. So, like, he's getting rolled. There's the rock, so now we shift. And remember, even if they don't shoot the shift, that just still means that there's time that they're not shooting you, so you can take space without getting your head blown off. Now he's paying attention to his timing. See this? All right, guys, we're going to go, walk, 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 walk. He's looking for Flux. So you probably look to Flux backline here because backline's more accessible, and then try and get a headshot kill. I don't think he'll go for Bernar. I don't think they'll go for Bernar here. I think the backline's close enough to where he probably Flux this right here. We'll probably see a Flux here. Oh. They're too fast. They're too fast. Violet just gets destroyed. And again, look at how Bernar is utilizing his resources here. Look at this. He's not using any resource at all. Do you see this? Now again, defender's advantage here. This is not to say Coluge is trolling the lobby. Coluge is doing the best he can. This is just attacker, right? The defenders have better positions, so they do more damage. They don't have a good angle on Bernar. So Bernar, but the reason why this is so impactful is look at this. How are they going to stop this window? I mean, there's no chance. They're going to Flux it, obviously. But there's no chance of an accidental pick. He saves his cooldowns, and he has literally everything for Bap Window. Yeah, I'm glad to help. I'm glad to help, DZ. Yeah, so this is a massive play for Bernar. Massive play. Allows his team to play so aggressively. This is a good Flux from Coluge. Great job from Shy getting out of it, but it does force the kill. It does get the kill. So there's no Bap here, so he's got to be careful. Ooh, again, Bernar is able to outplay with Rock just a little better. I think Coluge could have been more patient here. The shield is broken. I don't think there was a need for Rock, because look at Bernar's shield, right? 69, and he gets the block with Rock on 60 shield HP. Coluge should have been more patient here. We control the Widow. Yes, we can. And this is ironically where we start to talk about attacker's advantage. Usually defenders have a positional advantage, but actually late on this point here, this position sucks, right? So actually, you look at a lot of Shock, and Shock is probably much happier with their positioning than Spark is. Nice Rock. Bernar just had nothing left though. So I'm actually, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I think Bernar so far has played better, but a lot of that has just been the positionings that he has held. I've made it easier. Now this is all fine and dandy as long as nothing crucial is wasted. So like you see how Coluge is just spamming, but now he's entering the fight full HP, full shield, no cooldowns used. That's what we want to see, right? That's a high risk, high reward. Rock, probably worth doing there. Probably not going to be ending up in a brawl phase here. Now, something very interesting has happened, though. Do you guys see what happened? This is, I think, a misplay from Coluge. I don't know if this is a misplay of ult tracking or what. There's the Rock. The shield drops. He gets a little bit yoinked. So he shifts because he's scared of getting shot here. It looks like, does Shy have charge? Yeah, Shy has charge. So that's why he's shifting. It's really hard to see in the replay viewer, y'all. It's not. I don't know why the replay viewer colors are so washed out. It's really, really frustrating to me, to be honest with you. But that's why he shifts here. He shifts because of Sojourn shot. Now, I think he should not have gone as aggressively on the Sojourn once he missed the Rock, because there's no chance of getting the kill here, right? So Rock misses, don't jump here and swing wide, because now Bernar is going to flux. I would be shocked if Bernar doesn't flux in the next 5 seconds. 3, there it is. And the problem now is Coluge should die. But this is where mechanics, this is just mechanical difference, right? So the reason why we flux there is because not only the proximity of the backline, but because Coluge doesn't have shift. So Coluge is going to get spammed in the flux. Now, one thing Coluge does have going for him is he does have shield, but then he even messes that one up because he shields early, which means he gets pulled here. If Shock doesn't just mechanically outplay them here, Coluge probably dies. Or ends up being 1 HP, all of resources forced, and probably loses. No Rock for Flux is also a good point as well. He does turn his head, but how do Shock win this? That's how Shock win this. The jump, and then proper. That's it. Mechanics, ladies and gentlemen. Mechanics, covering your butts since 1984. I don't know why I chose 1884. The teams go underground and flank here and out. Not usually, because they can. It's too easy to like stuff you in this choke. But yeah, I mean, where am I? Yeah, sometimes they do. Yeah, sometimes they do. Okay. Will he get Flux off before Irony builds Trance? Will he get Flux off in a good location on a good target? Now, this is really interesting here. A lot of teams will play for one fight here, depending on the situation, and just play to hold high grounds here. But the problem is then if you lose that, then it's over. So Spark seem interested in taking an early fight here. It might be because they don't have ultimates yet. It might be because they think they have like a set play here. I'm not as familiar with the way these metas evolved and what were like the best strategies in the best position. So I'm going to be learning as I'm watching. Nice little Rock here. Maybe not the most impactful Rock, but it's a good mechanical play. He like really fits it in right through the shield and manages to get it through and just catch him right in the toes. Not super impactful, but I don't know. Maybe it's okay. I don't know if he's going to see a better use for it. So this is where Sigma feels a little useless. Shock might try and flip here. Looks like that's what they're going to do. And they're going to have... This is where the flip is actually really strong because you can, especially when there's no flankers, you can flip the map if they do something funny like this and have your Widowmaker literally sit in spawn. I promise you Proper's in spawn. Oh, he's not in spawn. He should be in spawn. Ah, jeez, it's just stupid. What they should have done is they should have had this here and then at least give better scouting, and then Proper could literally just sit here and CCTV this entire back angle. Crazy, crazy, crazy shot. There's the bounce tech. Proper just kills people again. Nice rock. I don't think Bernar was expecting him to hit that. Yeah. I mean... yeah. 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 I mean, you hit shots. There's nothing been Sigma specific here. I think there was a lot of Sigma stuff in first point. Fights won and lost by either team playing, but yeah, this is something else. Second point, third point were largely just mechanics. Again, the early pressure to hold this choke. We'll see how soon Coluge backs off. DPS, 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 DPS. Don't get your head blown off. Don't get your head blown off. Don't get your head blown off. Okay. Sojourn has shot. Be careful. Try not to waste shield. Now, I was going to say, you might see some attention put on Shy here, because again, this is relatively easy for a Sigma to shoot based off of the position they're playing. You see how accessible this is for a Sigma? Right, this isn't an RNG shot. I just don't think he knew he was there. I really don't think he knew she was there. We need to back off hard. Just trying to wait for that rock. That's a nice little outplay from Coluge there, y'all. This is like really clean. So basically, Bernar is trying to land this rock, but he's not trying to rush it. So Bernar is slowly walking forward. He overshields to allow him to walk forward very aggressively. You see how far Bernar puts his shield? The reason he puts the shield so far is because he knows Coluge is going to back up. So then he can place, he doesn't have to worry about the silly shield recall. He can greedily place it to where he wants to be in 4 seconds from now, right? But the problem is that does mean that it takes him a little time to close the distance, and the shield is taking damage all along the way. So his shield actually gets nuked by shock because he gets a little bit too aggressive with his shield placement. And so he goes, oh shoot, my shield's about to break. I need to drop it. He recall. Well, actually, he doesn't even recall it. He actually lets it break. And Coluge times it perfectly. Now, Bernar, I mean, we can really dig into the micro here and be like, well, Bernar should have known that because the enemy Widow died, but the Widow doesn't have a lot of shield break anyway, so my shield's going to die just as fast. But this is actually, what I'm trying to do is explain Bernard's thought process. Is like, we're going to push, but he gets too greedy with it, and Coluge times it really well. Now, obviously, this is not going to end up in a kill, but what this will do is it means that Coluge will likely survive because he landed this rock. So it's going to be hard for Spark to punish this now because of that rock. That is a crucial play. And yeah, timing. I definitely think Bernar probably should have been a little more patient on that push here because he didn't have the support of his team at the same time. Again, another RNG rock, just because Coluge is probably thinking, I don't think there's going to be a point in time. There's the Sojourn E eat. That's definitely worth eating there, right? Look at the pressure on Shy, right? Look at the pressure on Shy. Look at the priority here. There's a little bit of Zen pressure there. Shy has to give up the angle. Nice job. This has been a very nice little defense from Coluge here. RNG rock. I think he was going for the choke, the little gap there, but I think he messed up slightly. Yeah, he hears the Widow and he responds to the Widow, and the Widow dips out. I think that's fine because the Widow immediately had to back out, and like if he hits that rock there, it's fight winning. This is where we talked about the explosion radius, y'all. Remember we talked about this in the practice range? He knows the Widow's in there. It's not only too risky to walk in here and primary fire, but it's also just easier to just bounce it off the wall and get the general explosion damage on the Widowmaker instead, right? So he's not going to even go for the direct there. He's just going to bounce. And look at the greed there. No shield needed. He doesn't want to use the shield. I don't think I need to use my shield for this. I can just juke it, and he does. Right? You see how he kind of leans left and then cuts back right? He's literally juking it. But he misses the shift on the Sojourn E, which sucks. So Shy... yeah, he misses the E on the Sojourn E. The eat on the Sojourn E, which is big, because now he has to rotate out this direction. There's the pressure on Shy. This is actually really cute. Again, I know I'm going obsessively with the micro here, but this is what Sigma is about in this particular mirror, on this particular map. It's all about the micro. Watch this. Juke misses the shift. Look at his attention. Shoot Shy, obviously. But if he's shooting Shy, who is he not shooting? Bernar. So Bernar's under no pressure right now. Well, there's not a lot of pressure. So what is Bernar going to do? Well, he's not going to waste his shield HP, right, guys? Right, guys? So then what is Coluge going to do? Bernar drops shield because he's shooting Shy, and then he gets rocked. You see that? He was trying to trick Bernar. Now, he was shooting Shy because he needed to shoot Shy. But then he's like, while I'm shooting Shy, I'm going to... Oh! No, right? Not looking at you, Bernar. You're safe, right? But Bernar doesn't fall for it. And now... There's the field. He gets his shield back in time, but it's just too late. Shock had been on the back foot this entire fight. Really? Oh! He's always trying to hit the floor because that's generally where the Sojourn E will be planted, is at the floor. But yeah. Okay. Honestly, I think pretty decent from Coluge there. I think Coluge played very well there. Yeah, Coluge lost DPS early. That's just a gap accretion. That's just knowing the map and knowing that he might or may not hit it. He can duck, so he's going to use his shift early. You notice that he can get greedy with that because... And hey, this works because I don't have to peek the enemy Sigma to do damage. So here we have both Sigmas unwilling to peek the enemy snipers just yet. And this is just hilarious. Watch this. Watch this. They're just drawing the corner. Hey, you suck! No, you suck! Hey, you know, like, this is hilarious. Okay. But they're not using shield, right? No resources used. Now, probably we'll see Flux here. I think Flux is one of the better opener ults, especially if you have positioning, because you increase... There's always counterplay to Flux, but remember we talked about the counterplay to Flux doesn't always work. So you can sometimes use just Flux and just straight up win a fight just off of Flux. So we'll probably see Flux from either team pretty soon as he sees an opportunity to. Kilo's in a rough spot. Probably see a Flux very soon. There's an early rock. Maybe recharge a little bit of shield and then probably Flux here. Yep, there it is. I do think Shock waited too long. So respectfully, I think Shock should have pulled the trigger sooner because Shock has the positional advantage if they take the fight here because there's no easy cover for Spark, right? Whereas Shock's backline is much better positioned. But I don't know why they waited so long. I think Kilo expected them to take an earlier fight as well, but this is not where Shock should be positioned. And so what ends up happening is look at Spark's positioning, right? Spark ends up being the one that ends up taking pretty decent angles themselves. It shouldn't be like this. Shock waited too long. They had the ultimates, they had the setup. They should have just pulled the trigger, at least on the Flux, to try and force an ultimate trade, so to create space for the DPS. I don't know why Coluge is waiting so long. I don't know if this was Coluge's call or not, but like I really truly think that like this, I don't know if he's scared of, it might be that there's too much of a risk of getting rocked in Flux if you're too, like in other words, if both Sigmas are point blank, maybe if you pull Flux, it's just too risky to get rocked. That might be something that I haven't considered, but I really do think that this is waiting too long. I really do think this is waiting too long. Because now, like you're exactly, Spark is no longer on the back foot with positioning here, right? They've been able to just essentially push the cart all the way to almost a neutral advantage. So they're going to window, they're going to match window, they're going to Flux. He's going to duck behind the corner, everything's safe. Oh my gosh, how does he die? So Bernar shifts early, but nobody on Shock can punish him. What happens to my man Bernar? 500 HP. Oh my gosh, dude. What? Proper must headshot. Oh my gosh! He gets it through the window! He gets it through the window! Oh my gosh, 500 HP gone in an instant. That is actually ridiculously, I would say unlucky, but Proper had a great angle. This is a perfect angle for a Widowmaker in this fight. Like, well played positionally by Proper. Even if he doesn't get the headshot through the window, he creates opportunity to kill Shy here that gets the pressure on Bernar. Bernar might actually die here, even if he doesn't get the damage boost wid shot, because that was a lot of damage that he was going to take there. 300 damage plus the Sigma Volley plus the Zenyatta Orb. Wow. Actually, chat, how much damage is that? Is he discorded? Is he discorded? Let's see here, Finn. No. Oh yes, he is. Briefly. Okay, let's see how much damage would that be. So it's 300 damage times 2 because 200% damage increase. So 600 damage, and then Discord is the one damage multiplier that is stacked because it's technically a debuff and not a damage multiplier. So you remember how the Mercy Beam doesn't multiplicatively stack? It only multiplies the original damage source. That's not the case with Discord. Not the case with Discord. So it's actually 600 times 1.25. Well, a quarter of 600 is 150. That is a 750 damage shot. Sigma has no armor, so that we don't have to worry about that. It is 750 damage. Discord plus damage boost. Now, if they were running Zenyatta Mercy, that would have been 840, I think, 30 times 30%, because that doesn't stack with window or thing. But yeah, Yalvaza. I think the really important thing for me is I think the reason that they were scared to use Flux was because of how close the enemy Sigma was, so that there was a risk of getting rocked. But I still don't like how long it took for them to. Proper is just disgusting. Like, what is this guy doing? It's just, what do you say, you know? Rolling Cassidy survives that. Wait, really? How much is the damage reduction from Rolling Cassidy? I'm not sure if you're memeing or not, but honestly, like, how much is the damage reduction? I forget. Rolling the dice. It's a nice little shield from Bernar. I really like how this is exactly what we talked about on. Let's actually take a moment to consider this positioning here. Why is Coluge positioning here and not up here with like his backline? Well, the same reason why he was positioning here, right? Same thing with Bernar, right? Yes, he could shield his team, but it's actually more important for him to get an aggressive position to make this rotation agony. If he's up here, he can't reach anybody with his primary fire, so therefore a lot of his value is dipped. So he has to decide what's more valuable, shield for my team or primary fire pressure, and he's going to decide primary fire pressure. 50%. Oh my gosh, it's 50% on roll? That's wild. You know what's actually funny, chat? We might actually have the first time where I've only looked at one map in one of these Overwatch League replay reviews. There's so much detail and just one map. It's actually unreal. Like, we've already been going for like 40 minutes and we're like just over halfway. 40 minutes for like 10 minutes of gameplay. Rolling the dice. He should probably know better than that. Bernard's not an idiot. So the reason why he's rocking this though is because he's anticipating Bernar to throw his shield up here because he feels like the real threat is up here. But I think Bernar is willing to risk that because getting a rock is a guaranteed death sentence. So it's just, again, a big brain move from Coluge. He's expecting a shield here because this is where the damage is. That's why he's off angling. That's why he's throwing a rock, because he thinks the shield will not be at an angle to block rock. Okay? Just so we're aware of that. Good cover usage. He's going to shift to cover, so he's going to disengage, but again, he's not going to get punished for it. That's a roll the dice on when he expects the shield to break, and he does get it correctly. He just misses the rock because Bernar moves pretty well. Like right here. Watch the shield HP from Bernar. Right here. Pixel. Look at that. Like literally a tenth of a second and the shield breaks, and the rock hits, right? It just doesn't quite hit, right? It's, wow, crazy. Now we're shooting shy. Now we're shooting that. Now we're shooting shy again. You see how hard it is to hit a direct on a target like that, y'all? It's not just mechanics. The 80-80 strafing is like such a big thing. Like that's why we were talking about the bounce off the floor. If Coluge could bounce off the floor here because the angle isn't here, like let's say the angle is just flat, I promise you Coluge would be bouncing off the floor in shy. He would not be trying to direct shy. Because when you bounce off the floor, you create a grace period where you get the explosion radius, right? Where you don't have to hit the direct. That's exactly, we just talked about it, right? Shy is shot, he's got to be careful. He tried to predict the shot, he missed, and Shy hits the shot. He tried to predict the shot, bait the shot, he missed, and Proper just dies. Again, shield break prediction there. He actually decides to go for Shy there, probably because of the Sojourn ult, but doesn't end up getting it. This is a fight lost. So, he's just gonna die, right? I don't like this from Coluge. I think Coluge probably will die. Yeah, okay. Chooses to die a little late, but at least he decides. Yeah, changing directions as well, yeah. It's, when I say 80-80 strafe, I mean 80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80-80, you know. I don't know, this is weird for me. Like, I think Shock is trying to take an early fight here, but I don't know. Shock doesn't need to be scared of a brawl. They have, like, if you consider like this in terms of like brawl perspective, right? Shock has trance, Shock has flux. They're fine. They can take this fight on the corner here with these guys. So I'm not sure what Shock is doing here. This must be a strategy I'm not aware of. This is a very risky move though. I don't love that. I don't love that. There's clearly a strategy behind it, but I don't like it. So that's less about micro of the hero and more about like the strategy of Shock, period. It's gonna be rough. Wait, what happens here with the flux? Does Bernar miss? He misses. Ooh, he tries to greed. He tries to get two. So he thinks he can get Kilo, and it catches, and then Fen. Yeah, ouch. Nice juke, by the way, from Fen, though. Probably see an aggressive rock trade here. Decides, oh, nice little rock there. You can even see again how that time he was more focused on Bernar, and so then flicked his rock to the backline, right? So they're not expecting that rock. Might see an aggressive flux here. Oh no, an aggressive window. I like that one even better because there's no flux to counter it, right? So go for the window. Bang. Uh-oh. He should have shielded that. He should have kept shielding that too. So let's look at this 3, 2, 1. Should have just let the shield die. He should have let the shield die. That's a mistake. That's a micro mistake, but he should have let the shield die. That's a huge advantage. The only thing that can go wrong is that something gets picked on the corner, and he greeted it. He greeted it. He should have just let the shield stay. And then also worth noting as well, no, I don't have anything. I was gonna say he probably shouldn't have rocked, but the reason he did it then, or he opened with a rock, is because he knew Bernar had cooldown and shield recall. So look at Bernar's shield here. There, right there, and then they go. Do you see that? So Bernar has shield at 2-second cooldown, and then almost dies. So that's why he opens with rock, but the shield, he should have let the shield break. That would have given Violet the confidence to like actually really poke aggressive there without the risk of being traded. RNG roll with the rock, doesn't quite hit it. That's not gonna work. Too close, too close. That's what we talked about with the proximity, right? The flux itself, I mean the fight's basically already lost first off, but the proximity here, you can't avoid it. That's why Coluge is running for his life. Ah, right, it's too close. I would guess that was why we didn't see those fluxes early. I'm gonna grab some water, chat. Be right back. 1 second. My first contact. So some interesting decisions from Shock, team play wise. And really both the second and third point. Not a huge fan of a lot of the way they were taking fights with their ults and how they were positioning either. Some odd choices, but yeah. How would you say all these micro things impact the game? They definitely have a significant impact in the game because your Sigma playing aggressively is what controls the enemy DPS. If your Sigma messes up his cooldowns, he cannot play aggressively, he cannot control the enemy DPS, so the enemy DPS have more freedom. It's not just about winning the cooldown trade so you hurt the enemy Sigma more and bait the attention of the healers. It's the Sigma that's able to use his cooldowns better, is better able to control space that allows his DPS and denies the enemy DPS from getting more picks. You just allow, it's like loading the dice. If you win the cooldown trades, you load the dice for your DPS to get more picks. That's basically what happens. You increase the chance that they're going to get, even not even picks, right? Just general damage output of your Sojourn is going to be higher. The general damage output of your Zenyatta is going to be a little bit higher. So you need to load the dice by winning those cooldown trades with the enemy Sigma. And it's not, remember, we've seen not just the enemy Sigma too. It's also been about playing around Sojourn shot, about eating Sojourn E, about shielding the Widow headshots, right? About looking for rocks on backline, things like that.
Withdrawing the barrier.
Grapple shot. Dice roll. Doesn't hit. It's okay. How long is he going to stay? Early shift from Bernar. So this is actually a really cute thing you'll see from some Sigmas. They do this to like min-max when they're scared. They want to shift early for space, but they're scared of rock. This is, okay, never mind. This is stupid. This is really stupid from Bernar. So you see this sometimes. Okay, like let's say Coluge has rock. He's going to shield, and then he's going to shift in front of his shield, and then if he sees the rock, he ducks behind his shield, but he gets pressure from that. You kind of see what I'm saying? The reason why he's shielding here might be for his backline, maybe? I don't love it, but he just saw a rock, so it's not necessary. But basically you can use your shield to greed your shift for extra HP, and then you can drop your shield if he doesn't end up using his rock, or you can duck behind your shield if he starts to use the rock. But I'm not sure why we're letting shield break here. I don't think letting your backline peak is enough value to just like let your shield break. Maybe it is. I don't know. It seems like he did it on purpose though, so I will defer judgment. Definitely an odd decision though. Coluge has to be really careful here. He cannot lose any shield HP or any serious burning HP. So like here's the thing with what Coluge is doing. Coluge is jumping here, putting pressure. Now if Pineapple wants to be really cheeky, he can scope right on this corner, right kind of what he's doing now. And if Coluge peeks again, he gets his head blown off. He doesn't die, but that means Coluge probably will have to back off. So what Coluge is doing is okay as long as he doesn't get headshot by the enemy Widow or get right-clicked. Then the extra pressure isn't worth it because it's 1v5, right? That's it right there. You see, this is what we were talking about. This is the greedy shift, and we'll see if it pays off. It does. You see that? He gets about 300 HP off of that. He does burn a little bit of his shield for it, but you guys see exactly what I'm talking about? He's utilizing that shield so that he can greedily shift. You will see this more often than not when the Sigmas are at close range and both have rock. You see that? So now Bernar has more HP than Coluge does, even though Coluge, yeah, it's interesting. Now, again, I don't know if he heard rock, though. I really do think Bernar thought he had rock. Because this one is definitely not for his backline. I don't think. Something to consider. If anybody in chat can think of a better solution than me, the first one looked like he was shielding for backline. He knew he'd get it back in time, so he just wasted shield. This one legitimately feels like he thinks Coluge has rock, and thus the shield shift comp, or the shield shift tech. I saw it, the first time I saw this happen was Space did this one. There's the shield shift tech from Coluge, or no, he just drops his shield, but I think he starts off with it. Let's see, does he do the shield shift tech? Let's watch Coluge. No, he just waits for it to break. Shy just gets too greedy. That being said, Bernar, they don't get a lot out of it, though. Nice little bounce from Coluge on the discorded target. Good block from Bernar. But that corner is too expensive for them to turn. They might turn it now, though, because they're up 2. Again, pressure on the Widowmaker. This positioning from Spark just prevents them from being pushed, though. That's crazy. They're a mana advantage, and they couldn't push because of the angles. The Spark head. It's too difficult. Look at the flux charge differential, by the way. That has everything to do with defense, right? Talked about it. That's actually a great bounce angle, actually, by the way. On any squishies pushing cart, they just bounce, and it hits them right here. That's actually massive. Shy Dice did the same thing again. Remember, Shy wants to push up. Okay, well, actually, Shy just gets his head blown off, but he's gonna get AoE'd anyway, so. Nice shield from Bernar to block off that. That's actually huge. Another great bounce from Coluge. Complete, like, look at Pineapple's position, right? Oh, now he's getting bounced. I have to back off, right? They gave away his position too, but that bounce location right there, if Coluge gets that hit marker, he's going to do it again and again and again, and Pineapple will never... Oh, that's a nice predictive rock. Just gives him a little bit of extra HP. Let's go back a little bit here. I want to see what actually happens here. Tries to get rock through the shield, doesn't get it, hit the target he wants, costs him all his shield for it. He aggressively shifts near the corner because he knows he is in a safe location to duck behind a corner for Bernar. We'll probably see a flux very soon. The problem with this flux, though, is that I don't know if Bernar... He hasn't forced Bernar to use shift, so Bernar will probably live the flux. That's the real danger here. So will Coluge flux now? Because you're thinking, like, why isn't Coluge fluxing now? He would really love to get a cooldown forced here. He would really love to see if he can break shield, force a rock from Bernar, force a shift, something. I don't know if they're going to get it. He's going to shoot Shy. Now we might flux. Yeah, there's the flux. So even though Bernar has shift, Bernar has taken too much damage, so he will die regardless. And that's a really nice push. They don't get their trance in time, so they're not able to get it. That's a nice play from Coluge. Good patience, not rushing it. Sees the cooldown, the rock that would have... it wasn't just the rock either. It basically... Bernar was playing... Bernar ended up taking more damage because Coluge was more patient. So then he was sitting and waiting on shift and waiting and waiting. Come on, Coluge, flux me, as his HP dips. And then he gets fluxed. But by the time he gets fluxed, he's already so low that even when he lands after the flux, he's essentially dead. Nice patience from Coluge there. This was a fast round, looks like. Looks like Shock pretty much cleans it home, which usually means we can probably anticipate some sort of mechanical play. You would not win this quickly off of just building an ultimate. This would be somebody hitting a couple of headshots. So let's see what happens. This is kind of cute. I don't know if he's trying to catch somebody off guard. I think that's what he's happening here. What's happening here? Oh no, he's got Venom Mind, so it doesn't really matter anyway. He's like, ah crap, never mind guys, let's go back to me. Roll the dice, rock. Shift at a distance. That's going to allow Bernar to back out. Both of them back out. Shy's on the angle. Shy might die for this, actually. Ooh, that's not a good ending location for Shy at all. That is a troll and a half from Shy. What is Shy doing? Aggressive off angle. Misses his shot. Doesn't shift out to cover. And goes back. He gets stuck and he gets focused down. Yep. Good block. Oh, that should have blocked. That was like pixel perfect from Bernar. That's rough for Coluge. That probably won't matter though. This is it. Eat greedy shift. Doesn't really get a whole lot out, but it doesn't matter. RNG dice roll on the rock. I will say I don't love the rock there because he knew that they're going to have to touch. I would have liked to have had the rock for the touch here, rather than doing that, because like right now, obviously you'd love to have the rock, or at least make sure that Bernar is not allowed to use his shift aggressively like that. That was a bit of a misplay from Coluge there. That's just getting sloppy. Okay, so Really, really high level stuff, y'all. Like, I mean, talking about all the teeny little details managed in here about timing of the shields, the timing of the shifts, timing of the rocks, the corner positioning, big braining your flux. Really, really, really high level stuff from both teams. Are you a fan of the dice roll? Yeah, I'm a fan of the dice roll rocks when you don't anticipate a brawl immediately. It's a lot like farming charge with Zarya. It's good to do. Look for a DPS, look for a flank, because if it hits 1 out of 10 times, oftentimes that's a pick, and you win a fight off of that. But that one in particular, you know the fight's about, the brawl is going to happen on point because they have to touch. You need to sit on the rock there. I think you need to sit on the rock. Any thoughts on looking at the Shanghai Dragons game, the Sigma versus Monkey Kiriko? You know what? Screw it. Let's do it a little bit. Let's do it a little bit. That's a good call. That's a good call. We should probably do that, actually. Because that's an entirely different matchup. How long was it? Not too long. We can look at it. We can look at it. Vince, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it, mate.
Ready, 5, 4.
Hey, you're welcome. If there were main points, I mean, the main points essentially are just timing of your cooldowns is the really, 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 really big low-hanging fruit, making sure that you're not wasting your cooldowns before you're actually taking or holding space, and then the priorities of not shooting the enemy tank whenever you can. Yonga, thank you so much. Bang Yonga, thank you for the sub. Is to try and not shoot the enemy. Try and shoot flankers as much as you possibly can. DPS supports anything but the enemy tank. Now there's exceptions to that rule. Maybe if there's like a Winston looking to dive or a Doomfist, maybe it's okay. But if you can hit a DPS, that is the much more high value pressure output. Okay. Little other detail as well as in Sigma mirrors, having shift for flux is really quite helpful. So I'll say that. Alright, so this one's a tricky matchup, but it's very, very winnable for Shock. They just need to get early pressure early and often, early and often, early and often, early and often. And we want to make sure that Coluge has his cooldowns when stuff gets hairy. Okay? Nice. Huge rock. He's going to give up space because his team is giving up space, right? He's not holding aggressively because his team is not holding aggressively. Early pressure. Get him, get him, get him, get him. Don't let him. Oh, that rock just misses. That's so sad. Fate is still low. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. He's he's too high of an HP. Too high of an HP. Too high of an HP. Fate has got too much HP going for him. Oh, yes! Monster dead in the water. And now it's over. It's over. It's over. It's over right there. Good early pressure. And this rock is it right here. Because this kills the dive immediately. Bang. Right there. Over. And then they go back, 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 back. And then, like, look at this. Now, Shock should be the one to push. Now you push, push, walk, 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 walk. Push more, push, push, push. I would push more if that were them, but that's okay. It's always tricky when you're running the Widowmaker. Huge! Again, dead in the water. As long as these early rocks hit, everybody's happy because it prevents them from going. Because Fate wants to dive. Okay, here we go. It's ready. 3, 2, 1. Uh-oh, now, back, wait. I gotta heal, right? Now, I'm interested to see if... I mean, theoretically, Kiriko should be game winner here, right? So let's see. Look again, squishies if you can. They're definitely farming it. Here we go. Oh, that rock doesn't quite hit. That sucks. I mean, it hits, but it doesn't get the stun. Look at that. Back, 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 back. Counterflux. Ah, doesn't work, does it? It doesn't work. They're not able to get enough early pressure. They're too like really Shock folded here. I don't know how Shock was positioned, but I can't imagine it was well. Yeah, this is horrible. So if you know that they have Kiriko ultimate and you have nothing for it, then what I would prefer is like probably Sojourn playing here, where she can shift out, and then you would move your Widow to here, and then your Baptizin would probably play back here, where you're in a much more kiteable location, and then your Sigma plays here, early pressure, immediately shifts into here, and then plays this corner here. I think Shock's positioning for this was atrocious. That being said, pure goal. Is Flux a good counter? Yeah, Flux is one of the better ultimates in versus the ultimate, yes. What happens here?
The blood thickens.
Got him. Push. Nice. Now this is where dive should have a hard time theoretically because this is wide open space. No corners. No way to close the distance. Early pressure. Try not to feed Sojourn shot, right? But early pressure. Venom Intrasites ends up not giving a whole lot of value. Oh, see, this is the thing with Rock, okay? So Rock is really important to hit well. But you see how he's channeling his Rock? So right now, if you're Fate, if you bubble this, then you end up you're engaging here. This is not good for Winston. Winston doesn't want to sit here. Winston wants to deep engage, right? Deep. But the problem is if he waits too long to bubble, he's going to get rocked. So he greeds his bubble because he doesn't want to bubble so early, but then that means he gets rocked, which means he takes damage. And then he ends up bubbling where he ended up going anyway. This is really good. This is really nice from Coluge. And then the shift afterwards, just to buy a little bit of extra HP, buy a little bit of extra space. Okay. Now, this is where Coluge really needs to set his feet. He cannot give up any more space right now. They need to fight. They're playing at their effective range right now. That rock is not good. It was clearly for Genji, but... And we'll probably see early ults usage. There it is. Good shift. There's the counter. Oh my gosh, Lip just hits 2. Lip just hits 2 in a row. That's rough. So a bit of a mismanagement from Coluge. Good boop, yes, good boop indeed. Nice eat on the Sigma, the Sojourn E. Flux. He actually doesn't even look, he just fluxes the floor. Ah, there it is, they did it! Can they live it? Oh! They do. They win us. They win it. Nice. He doesn't even look. He just fluxes the area. They're gonna be here. You know it, right? So... Rock doesn't hit. That's huge. They go right past Coluge, so Coluge just turns around and shoots what he can. Maybe tradable. How does Shanghai stage for this? How do they get past him? Somebody must flank. I guess they don't. They just go in. That's crazy. All right. Well, then the problem here is mostly that. It's just, I don't feel like look at the HP pools of Dragons. Dragons is just too high of an HP here. I think Kilo needs to be playing this way more aggressively. I think Kilo needs to be like up here, baiting the dive, like this right here. Kilo really needs to be here. I do not like Kilo's positioning here at all. I understand with Bap's in, but you have a shift, you need to be abusing it. This is like classic basic Sojourn stuff in the dive where if you're playing this passive, you guarantee 2 free even engage. Kilo doesn't even have charge, right? This is horrible. So then this dive, look at the Dragons. They're all full HP. Kilo doesn't have shot. You have to force them to jump you or backline and then respond accordingly. Kilo makes it way too easy. He actually goes into the middle of his team and makes it even easier. And meanwhile, he's a complete non-factor. This is really not impressive work from Kilo. That's fundamentals. You can't do that. You can't do that. Thankfully, Shock fixed it because Proper was playing Sojourn later and actually knew how to position aggressively. How did Fleta just die in Blade? I think he just got rocked. Yeah, just got comboed, that's all. Nothing fancy. Yeah, I mean, there's just no early pressure whatsoever from Shock there. Like, Coluge was trying, he wasn't doing very well on it, but he needs help from his Tracer and from his Sojourn, and I think Proper had a hard time given the angle, but Kilo for sure should have been doing more damage. So I don't like this from Coluge. you don't like playing out in the open, so you like playing the corners here. But I think dive doesn't have a lot of spam, and so it becomes more about you getting a good angle to deny their positioning and then not worried as much about the spam. I think Coluge here should be playing either here on this choke here, or more likely going high ground and looking to spam from here. I do not like him going straight to cart. He needs to be controlling high ground. Now, in the mirror, the high ground isn't as valuable as the corner and cover that the low ground provides in this particular situation, in this particular point. But this, again, it's not. I'm picking on Coluge, but they've not had a lot of practice against this mirror or this composition. So I'm just mostly picking on him so that then I can explain why I'm picking on him to you guys, so that you guys can learn something from it, right? He needs to deny the staging. This is too free. You see how little damage he's doing right now? He's doing no damage. He's doing no damage. You can't not do any damage to dive before it happens. Otherwise, you'll just instantly die. If dive enters at full HP resources and full cooldowns every time, you will always lose. And the reason that they're getting in at full HP, full resources, is either because Kilo is not playing aggressively enough, or in this particular instance, Shock is not controlling the space they need to control. They need people on high ground. Fate cannot just sit up here like an idiot and just not take any damage and then just drop on them. It's over. It's over if they could do that. RNG Rock, I'm not a fan of that one. That one feels too risky. You see how Shanghai is just taking away the map from them and setting up their dive? See this? I don't like this, guys. I do not like this. Flux is fine. I don't know that I would be here though. I would have probably gone to high ground. Yeah, I really think Shock are setting themselves up for failure. Uh-oh. We missed something. I went too far. Okay, there's the spawn camp is trying to get out. He gets body blocked and booped. Wow, that's actually huge. Dude, these boops are unreal from dragons. But the spawn camp is expensive, right? Spawn camping is expensive because yes, you get another fight, but oftentimes the fight setup isn't great, and shockingly, it's not great. So, yeah. They get the kill, but they get smashed by the off-angles. Early pressure. Now, if I turn around, what am I going to see? Hey, Proper's there. Where the heck is Kilo? Kilo, please, Kilo. Please, Kilo. Please, Kilo. Please, Kilo. Please, Kilo. There. Like, Kilo needs to be playing more. I don't want this to be a Kilo review, though. Okay, this is good pressure from... Right? Because, like, look at the HP pools, look at the cooldowns, and they haven't even executed a proper dive. This is what we like to see. Coluge is doing a good job here. Oh, the after push is just brutal. Spam is good at long ranges, so Spam wants to play the long ranges early and often. Spam is also less reliant on cooldowns compared to dives, so Spam wants to play early and often. Early and often. Often, I say. Early and after. Or early and often. There's the flux. Okay, so let's look at this again. So this is kind of interesting from Coluge. Coluge, you see what he does here? He checks his backline. Okay, this is where they're going to be diving. So this is where I'm going to be fluxing, right? So then he... What happens here? Does he just like... Am I missing something, chat? Am I missing something? What? Hello? What? Well, he snaps his fingers and then decides, I'm going to be over here instead. I assume this is a replay code bug, but then, you know, I will say that again, he checks his backline positioning. They all end up in the small room. Finn dies, but this is a monstrous flux. And they get it before the beat. Oh, Legion Gong! They just needed to have beat. Ah, no! If they had just waited a quarter of a second, literally a half of a second, this fight is lost for Shock. GG's over. And the funny thing is for Shock, it's almost the exact opposite, where they almost lost it because Finn was 99% on trance. Ouchies. Yeah, the payload booped him, man. Just sent him flying. Good early pressure. Really good early pressure. They kited out. There's the trance. They should cap off of this. Coluge is doing such a good job with the early pressure though. That flux before was also superb. Lawbanger, thanks for the sub. Yeah, that's true, Isaac. That's true, Isaac. That's a good point. But then I think you're still happy if you're the Dragons because you've closed the distance. You force trance. You force flux. You've lived both, and you're still in point blank range, which is what your comp wants, right? You want to be on top of this. So yeah, you got to survive through the trance, but you have the beat to do that. You have the beat to survive the flux, and you have the beat to survive the trance, and you're on top of them, which is what the team wants, right? That's why a lot of these devolved fights, if they're able to close the distance, the dive comps often will win. So I think even, you're 100% right, but I still think, like, I think also if you're the Dragons there, you assume that they already have trance. If your ult tracking is accurate, that they're like, they basically have trance, guys, yeah. So then you're expecting them to trance, then why engage if you're expecting to have them to trance, and then you have to beat afterwards. Thank you for the gifted sub, JDZ, congrats. Is this an old game? Yes. I didn't realize that people were playing Sigma spam on Circuit Royale still. I missed these games, so I was tired of reviewing Kiriko, Lucio, Winston, Sojourn Reaper, things like that. I didn't want to review those anymore. But this is an entirely new forefront that we haven't even touched, and I wanted to review it. So, and I'm glad I did. It's just been really, really fun, honestly. Okay, early pressure. Do you see how early pressure Proper is getting? He's not getting his cooldowns forced. He's just peppering. Even Sojourn's not, Tracer's not very good at this, but she's okay. She's okay. All right, Sojourn is getting early. Now I will say this for Kilo here. I'll say this for Kilo here. Uh-oh, my cat's being naughty. Will Kilo get early pressure here? Now he uses shift. I don't love that, but it looks like he's getting a little early pressure here. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Okay, early pressure. I mean, we're just going to C9, I guess. Coluge is like, should I be fighting? Probably, yes. But I think if you're Shock here, you're also like, this fight is lost, y'all. We're not going to win this fight because we have nothing and they have Primal. So maybe I just get as much cart push as I can. I mean, that's a good fight plan, right? Because now you're in single fight territory. Oh my gosh, they use Kiriko ultimate as well. This is phenomenal if you're Shock. You are very happy to lose this fight. You're in one fight territory. You've used nothing. They've used Kiriko ultimate. Yeah, this even if you lose this fight, I think you're in really good shape to win the next one. Nice little shift there. Her early pressure doesn't work out. It's kind of hard for Coluge here to get anything done. Oh, what happens here? Oh my gosh. That's just, I swear, every single time I'm like, what happens here? It's usually that, something along those lines. Oh, it's Proper again. Just basically, essentially one clipping an 80-80 strafing Sojourn. Because like, if you're Shock here, at some point you have to push around the corner, right? Which is exactly what the Dragons want you to do, but then they get a kill, so... Good early pressure from Coluge. I've got no complaints with how Coluge is playing this matchup, to be honest with you. The Flux misses, but I don't think it matters. I think Coluge played this one very well. I think Coluge definitely knew his role, definitely knew his job, was landing his cooldowns. Maybe a little bit sloppy greeting with early pre-fight rocks a couple of times, but also those, if you can land those are fight winning, as we saw really in the first dive of Shanghai. So I'm not going to give him too much grief for it. So definitely some things to learn for you guys. If you guys are playing segmented dive comps, the early and often pressure and then trying to play your life once the dive actually occurs is incredibly crucial. And then once the dive cooldowns are used, it's being able to apply pressure afterwards. No, I agree. I think Proper is definitely just absurd, but Coluge has played well. I think Coluge was, I mean, we looked at Coluge here, and Coluge was playing well in Sigma. He was playing well. And I think Coluge was very notorious for playing Winston and not feeding, despite it not being a main hero for him. Which sounds like a weird thing to say, but just his act of not feeding, despite being a very difficult hero for him, and doing a pretty decent job, is what helped Shock win fights. Shock was put in a really difficult situation, I think, with not having the main tank for quite a long time, and Coluge really stepped up when they needed him.